How's it going, everyone on YouTube? Today I've got a very special recipe. I'm going to be making a macaron themed after my favorite Disney movie, Moana. For those of you who don't know, a macaron is a little almond flour based powdered sugar cookie. Usually has some sort of cream filling, whether it's buttercream, whipped cream, whatever it may be. And I'm going to be theming it after that little rock that Moana has, you know, that little green one. I was watching the movie the other day and I said to myself, that looks edible. So I figured I'd try and make something that looks similar to it. And in my opinion, it turned out pretty good. Good flavor, good texture, and I think it looks really cool. So what it's going to be is this little green cookie with some dark green swirls in it. And then we're going to have some coconut buttercream in the middle. As you can see throughout the movie, there's coconut references to everything. There's a whole song about coconuts. So... Alright, so one thing that I like to do before I start any recipe is get all my ingredients together. So right here, we're going to get our little tiki bin. We're going to be measuring out our almond flour, and that's going to be 110 grams of almond flour. Followed by that, we're going to have a little bit of powdered sugar. Actually, this recipe requires quite a bit, 225 grams of powdered sugar. And you'll see it takes me a few scoops to fill up this little cup here. Now, I'll have all the measurements down in the description in the recipe and everything, so you don't got to remember it. But 225 grams of powdered sugar. I got my little scale here measuring it out. There you go. Next ingredient, we got some eggs. This is going to be 120 grams of egg whites. I like to do the technique where you crack it, then you kind of dump the yolk back and forth. Got 3 eggs here, dumping it in. Got the egg whites measuring out. Go ahead and dump in the yolk if you want to, and then scoop it out with the egg for a little bit of practice. But that's our egg whites right there. Back to the tiki bin. This time we're going to pull out some sugar, measuring out 50 grams of granulated sugar, not too much. Then we got our cream of tartar. Extremely hard to find this stuff in Walmart, but it's there. Just keep looking. It's by the garlic. So we're going to measure out a half teaspoon of tartar. Then we're going to get our strainer, pour in the almond flour, the powdered sugar, and we're going to sift it together. Just sift it together, shake it around, put it in the bowl. You want it to be really fine. The reason we're doing this, we want to get all the clumps out. So this is going to keep our cookie nice and smooth. We don't want too many air pockets or anything like that. Mix it up, whisk it, just get all the clumps out, make sure it's well combined. Next, we're going to grab our mixer, attach it with the whip attachment. We got our mixer with the bowl with the whip attachment, whisk, excuse me, sorry. Pour in your egg whites first. Then we're going to kick that puppy on to high. We want to whip it a little bit. We don't want to go crazy yet, though. We're just going to whip it until it's kind of foamy looking, kind of weird looking. So once it's at that point, go ahead and grab your cream of tartar, dump that right in there. And we're going to whip it up for a little bit. And we're going to keep whipping for a little bit here. You'll see we whip it for quite some time. Alright, so once it's whipped up, not all the way to stiff peaks, kind of soft peaks, medium peaks, not all the way stiff. Keep whipping it a little bit. We're going to pour in our sugar now. We want to pour in the sugar while it's whipping. We're not at full speed here because we don't want the sugar to go everywhere, but we're going to keep whipping it, pour in the sugar, whip it as we go, just pour it in nice and evenly. Once we got our sugar combined, we're going to grab our green food coloring, just a couple drops of this. Mine took like 2 or 3. Whip it up on high. We want to get it all the way stiff now, and you'll see when I pull this up, it's got a nice green color. Look at that. Perfect. Stiff peaks. We got it about perfect right there. Grab our flour mixture. We're going to dump in half of it here. Very important, you don't want to dump in all of it. We got the flour mixture and we got the other mixture. Combine it together and we're going to be folding. So the folding technique is super important because you do not want to flatten the egg whites that you just whipped up. So take your spatula, kind of run it along the side of the bowl, get underneath it. That way you can just fold the ingredients together. Get the other half of the flour mixture and just keep folding until it's all combined. One thing I'll say, this is the most difficult and most important step of the entire recipe. There's going to be pockets that hide. That's what it'll look like. Anyways, grab your pan. We have a liner. This is a macaron liner. If you don't have one, it doesn't really matter. Just use parchment paper or something non-stick. Then we're going to grab our little pipe bag here. Again, if you don't have one, use a Ziploc bag, cut off the tip. And we've got just a round tip here. Mine is one of those washable ones. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it, but what can you do? We're going to grab a green food coloring and we're going to dump a couple drops just in the tip of this. So this is super important because what this is going to do, it's going to give us those dark green swirls. Because as we're piping the mixture out of the bag, it's going to catch some of that food coloring that hasn't been mixed in. And as we spin the bag, it's going to swirl it. You'll see it turns out pretty nice. So we're going to just scoop our mixture into here. I'm terrible at this, not going to lie. And then once we get to this part, you just kind of swirl it on there just like that. And just keep going. This recipe will make a bunch of macarons. Not sure how many, depends on how big you want to do them, but it makes quite a few. I ended up doing 2 pans of these. The other pan I did off screen, but it makes a bunch of them. Once your pan's full, you want to take it and drop it a few times. This will be to get all the air bubbles out, so that way the top of it cooks nice and flat. And we're going to go ahead and let it sit. We want it to sit until it gets what's called a skin on top. You should be able to touch it without your finger getting any of the stuff on it, without it being sticky. Once it's at that point, you're good to throw it into the oven at 300 degrees, and we're going to be baking it for about 15 to 16 minutes. It's better to overbake it than underbake it. So once it's been 15 minutes, go ahead and take it out, and you'll want to let these cookies rest for another 15 minutes or so. But as you can see, they rose up a little bit. They've got the feet there. They've got the round top. Some of mine did end up cracking. So again, just make sure you're dropping the pan. I dropped mine 5 or 6 times, but after they've cooled for 15 minutes, go ahead, transfer them to a rack, a plate. Doesn't really matter. So after we've done that, we can get started on our Italian coconut buttercream. We're going to start out here with the egg whites. That's going to be 80 grams of egg whites. Again, go ahead and dump the yolk back and forth in the shell, and that'll separate your egg whites pretty easily. There's the egg whites right there. Go ahead, get the tiki bin again. We're going to get some more sugar. We're doing 2 different separations of sugar. First one's going to be 65 grams. You can see that right here. The second one is going to be 200 grams of sugar. So it's important that these are separate. They're going to be used for different parts of the recipe. 65 and 200. Measuring that out here. There's the 200 grams right there. Then we need a little bit of water. Recipe calls for 50 grams. I'd recommend just a little bit more, honestly. Back to the cream of tartar. Not too much here. Only 1/8 teaspoon. Then we got a lot of butter. And you'll see this takes little more than 3 sticks of butter. Takes me quite some time to measure it out. 280 grams for those of you who are wondering. I believe it was just over 3 sticks that I measured out here. But you can see that's quite a bit of butter. We're also going to be using coconut extract and coconut flakes. Forgot to show those for some reason. All right, back to the mixer and a pan. We've got our water and we've got our 200 grams of sugar. What we're going to be doing is making a simple syrup here. Just mix it all together, combine it, and you want to keep stirring it until it's well combined. Honestly, it's pretty easy. But I got a wooden spoon here, just stirring it around. That's what it should look like. Pop it onto the stove, about a medium heat, and you want to just let it simmer. Next, we're going to grab our egg whites, dump them into the bowl. We've got our cream of tartar as well, dump that in there, mix it, whip it up a little bit. Whip it on high speed here. You want to whip it pretty well. So go ahead and grab your 65 grams of sugar and dump that in there while you're whipping. Keep whipping it. And we've been whipping it for a while. Take it off. We should have stiff peaks. Put it back on. And we're going to grab our simple syrup that's been simmering now. You can see it's got some color, a little bit golden. I'd recommend simmering it a little longer, honestly, but it worked out just fine. Go ahead and turn it on about medium speed. We're going to be dumping it into the bowl. Very important, you want to dump it on the inside of the bowl. If you dump it right into the mixture, then it'll solidify and you'll have a mess. Grab your coconut extract. We're going to do about 2 or 3 teaspoons here. I didn't really measure, honestly, just kind of dumped it in there. And whip it up again. Then we're going to grab our butter. You want to add the butter just kind of 1 piece at a time, and you want to be whipping it really fast. One thing that's weird about buttercream is as you're whipping it up, you're going to see the butter kind of separate, and it's going to be kind of alarming at first. Just keep whipping it. The butter will break down, and as you just keep whipping it, it'll come back up to shape. Grab your coconut flakes, dump that right in there, whip it all together. And after you've whipped it for a while, it should turn out pretty nice looking. One thing, do not put this in the fridge. Okay, so now that we've got our buttercream here, we're going to go ahead and put it in the piping bag. and put it on the cookies. Mine was a little thick, honestly, because I put it in the fridge. Don't put it in the fridge. Go ahead and scoop it out with a spoon if you put it in the fridge like me, because it won't pipe. And we're just going to put it onto the cookies here. Honestly, they look fantastic. Give it a little taste test there. Not bad, honestly. Nice swirl. I'd say it looks pretty good. But let me know what you guys think. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.